Oh my god, dude, did somebody finally beat Harsh? That's crazy. He might not be here today. That'd be weird if he wasn't, but he might not be. Oh. No, that's the thing. Some people, I'm surprised he's not here yet. Maybe he's not coming today. Break my little heart. Well, thank you for waking up. I know, it's gonna be so... Oh. I thought I saw him. There he is. There he is. I was... Dude, that was so weird. Harsh got here, and then it was a massive lag, so... I know, it's been a minute. No, dude. There was a massive lag just then. And it was totally fine. And then Harsh showed up, and then the lag came in. But that's okay. Okay. Where are we? We're chapter 544. Perfect. Love it. How's everybody's Friday night going? How's everybody's night going? How's everybody doing? Oh, also, new Stray Kids album. 2 songs were good, 2 songs weren't. I was... My profile pic. Like the one I have on YouTube and TikTok. Is a photo that... It's a photo... Oh, is it? Well, it's Friday where I am. Maybe Saturday for some of you, but it's Friday where I am. The photo it's a photo that was taken at the last job I had, and I really liked it. And I wore an outfit that day, and I kind of looked like Dwight from The Office, and we just kind of stuck with it. And then I really liked it. So it's literally just my picture for everything. And we'll go from there. I don't really have my... Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Okay, so we're on chapter 544. We're on expert. We're also 25% done. We're at 1,000 pages so far, which is kind of crazy. But you know what? Also good for us, because it's only like the 12th time we've really... Oh, I guess like probably not even... Yeah, this is only like part 12. So using that kind of like logic and math, probably like 48 parts, and then we'll finish volume 3, which will be good. Okay, so chapter 544, expert. Klein had just sorted out his thoughts while Ellen caught up with the two and said with a smile. No, that's the thing. I was like, we're so far in. We're doing so well. No. There's still so much left. So much left. We found the target. The investigation is over. I'll bring you back to the hotel first. I'll bring the room remuneration in 2 days. Also, it's best if you don't go out today. Klein maintained Cameron Sparrow's character by only nodding slightly without giving any verbal responses. On the way back to the Wind of Azure Inn, Donitz clearly had some doubts and wishful thoughts on his mind, but due to his presence of Elend, who was part of the military, he couldn't only change the subject and discuss what great interest about the pirates would end up being caught in the cities through sweep today. To him, they weren't friends as long as those guys didn't belong to the Golden Dream. They weren't worth sympathizing with. After entering the hotel room and watching Elend leave, he closed the door and said while clicking his tongue, "The Book of Calamity, ancient elven ruins. This really is an interesting matter." Does it get really confusing later on? I feel like the book is already super, super confusing. Like, it's already insanely confusing, so I can't imagine what's going to happen later on. After entering the hotel room and watching Elend leave, he closed the door and said with clicking his tongue, "The Book of Calamity, ancient elven ruins." That's my thing. I'm not excited about that because I was already getting the small facts wrong that I was doing with this already. I can't imagine how badly I'm going to have to try and keep track of everything going on. I'm sorry? Dude, I didn't sign up for that. I didn't sign up for that. Oh my god. Oh, dude, I'm gonna have so many... I'm not even gonna be able to read the book by then. My brain's gonna be mush. Okay? Just by casually taking their books and casually flip through it, that caused women to go insane and lose control. What kind of image do you have of elves living in the mountains and seas? I'm gonna have to create one. Jesus Christ. Specializing in cooking creatures and enjoying nature. According to Little Sun, the 8 ancient gods before the cataclysm were all very tyrannical, very cruel and very evil. Among them was the elf king Soniathrim and the elves who believed in him and viewed him as the king. Yeah, I've got you guys. So when I inevitably forget and need to help with remembering, that's why we have the Discord. And then you guys to remind me of when I'm not on track with what I should be learning. Any better one can make a comparison with the members of the Aurora Order. The Beyonder race is left behind by the dark. Epoch basically can be associated with the good alignment that normal people have in mind. Klein replied in his mind, of course he didn't rule out the possibility that after the ancient gods' fall, the dragons, giants, elves, sanguine, and other living creatures would gradually eradicate themselves from the negative effects and become more normal. However, dude, I might have a fucking question right now. I feel like... Wait, okay. I'm gonna reread this really quick because I was not really paying attention, but I was paying attention. As their king could have been any better, one can make a comparison with the members of the Aurora Order. The Beyonder race is left behind by the dark. Epoch basically can't be associated with the good alignment that normal people have in their mind. Of course, he didn't rule out the possibility that after the ancient gods' fall, the dragons, giants, elves, sanguine, and other living creatures would gradually eradicate themselves from the negative... the negative effects and become more normal. However, that was only limited to the lower levels. It didn't include the demigod powerhouses and the high elf that left behind the Book of Calamity, and clearly the latter. With the thought, Klein suddenly realized something. Donitz understands Elvish. My boy's educated. He recognized the title of the ancient goatskin book as the Book of Calamity. Vice Admiral Iceberg had actually taught her crew to such an extent. Not only does it include ancient Faceac, but she had also taught them Elvish, which can stir up the powers of nature. Perhaps Jotun and ancient Hermes are all part of the curriculum of the Golden Dream. They really are a bunch of I feel like Cammy just has a god complex whenever. I feel like it's just the natural state of him. Donitz is lacking in so many other aspects. That's right, the most important thing for a pirate whose main job is a treasure hunter has to be mastering the ancient languages. Klein ignored Donitz's comment and looked out the window. The sky remained gloomy as if the heavy rain would fall at any time. It made one's voluntarily feel suppressed. Klein nodded slightly, feeling slightly relaxed as he thought. Leticia had been found being aware of the ancient... Oh my god, I can't read tonight. Elven ruin on Simim Island. The Church of Storms and the kingdom's military will likely use its connections to the place where Calvatua is hiding to find the sea god that is becoming progressively crazier, or they might use the ruin to speed up its collapse. That way, apart from the most fervent and pious sea god believers dying, the rest basically won't suffer any harm. Klein had originally thought of using the spirit world to locate sea god Calvatua's hiding spot after it died before the official Beyonders did. He could then infiltrate it, taking the treasure with him. But even before the plan has begun, the appearance of the Book of Calamity pushed his plan to the verge of failure. It's fine, I only existed in my imagination, and it never belonged to me. It's fine if I don't get it. I don't even know what I'll get. Letting this matter get resolved this way is for the best. Klein withdrew his gaze from the weather, his mood calm and relaxed. He just inevitably felt a sense of loss. The day he and Donitz followed Ellen's advice and didn't head out, only they remained in the inn. In Bayham, there would be the sound of gunfire and explosions from time to time. This continued until the sky turned dark. The next morning, Klein got up on time and found that there were layers of clouds in the sky, and in the sky remained dark. This meant that the confrontation between the Church of Storms Cardinal, high-ranking deacons, and the mandated punishers, Jan Kottman, and the sea god Calvatua was still ongoing. Klein felt a pain in his stomach and prepared to head to the washroom with a newspaper. However, he gave up the idea when he saw Donitz leisurely reading a newspaper while lying in the reclining chair, munching on a piece of white bread in his mouth. Reading the newspaper while in the toilet doesn't match Garamond Sparrow's persona. Although it would be boring, I mustn't slack off on acting. Sigh, I've once again found a difference in the behavior between my true self and the distinguished identity. Klein summed it up in silence and went to the washroom. He took off his pants and sat down in the toilet, staring almost in a daze at a pale white wall in front of him, as if he could read words from it. At this moment, his spiritual perception was triggered. He hurriedly tapped into his molars and activated spiritual vision. 2 thick, long, white bones appeared in front of him. They were messenger legs. The messenger stood there, its head passing through the ceiling, but its black flame eyes sockets could still be seen. It lowered its head slightly and looked down at Clyde, who was sitting on the toilet. My poor boy can't even get a minute of rest. This is the second time he's been disturbed while just trying to do his business. Klein looked up, stunned for 2 seconds, his mind filled with a baffling thought. Should I act like a woman, hurriedly cover my nether regions, or should I be open and fearless? Before he could make up his mind, the messenger dropped the letter, disregarding into a pile of bones, and disappeared into the floor. It took a moment for Klein to react before he caught Mr. Isaac's reply. This messenger is being more and more impolite. Can't you see that I'm using the toilet? Don't you know to knock the door or squeeze it through the crack under the door? Klein cursed in anger and amusement. I'd say open and fearless. You know what? Just let it all go. After giving it some more thought, he felt that it would be putting the messenger in a tough spot to pass the letter through the crack in the door. The 4-meter-tall giant had to lie down in order to reach that position. Just thinking about it, rather funny. Well, the next time I write a letter, I'll add a paragraph so that Mr. Isaac can educate the messenger so that he will be more polite. Klein unfurled the letter and read Isaac's reply. According to the knowledge I've recalled, I can provide you with two methods. The first requires certain prerequisites. If a unique item belongs to you or someone else is located where sea god Calvatua is, you can use divination to easily locate this position. The other prerequisite is that you can enter the spirit world. I have plenty of methods for this. I'll list the most common three. The second method is to use the secret deed ritual and pray the red light or Moria. He represents authority and will, at a certain level, he grasps the relevant knowledge of the creatures of the spirit world and locations in the spirit world. Are we going to go to the spirit world? Maybe. So but are we going to go to the spirit world? I think that'd be really cool. Is the spirit, because here's the thing. I'm wondering, because if there is still like elves and dragons and all of these things roaming around, are they in the spirit world? And that's why we don't know where they are? Or are they yeah. And align oneself with the target of the prayer bit by bit. Finally, this is why I do my this is why I do my theories on TikTok and not here. So if you guys have something to say, I don't look at the comments anyway because I don't want spoilers. My secret will also be open to the target of the prayer. I can trust red light. I have too many secrets. Klein's first reaction was to rule out the second approach. As for the first solution, there was also the chances of failing. Klein didn't have any unique items located where sea god Calvatua hid. Either I use the help of the resistance or send something to Calvatua, or I'll have to find the original owner of an item sacrificed to the sea god from its believer. Furthermore, it has to be unique. Send something to Calvatua, as he thought Klein suddenly had an idea. He braced himself and considered it over and over again, thinking that there was a certain probability of success. After finishing his deed in the washroom, Klein washed his hands, took 4 steps counterclockwise, and went above the gray fog. He planned on attempting divination and received a revelation that there was danger, but it was manageable as long as it was handled properly. With all of this done, he returned to the living room and walked towards the reclining chair. Donitz immediately sat up and said with a dry laugh, Is there something who put Klein and Dally together? At least I never did that. Do you know the words and prayers? Ew! Oh my god, Dally could do so much better. She did do so much better. Klein asked in an unperturbed tone. Donitz spread out his hands and silently hissed, "Dog shit." He softly cursed his injured arm and switched to smiling. "Yes, I've seen a few members of the resistance hold rituals. Their details are a door of the sea and spirit world, guardian of the Rorst archipelago ruler, and the undersea creatures mastered of tsunamis and storms. The great Calvatua." I sound like I'm saying Haktua every time I do it. By the way, the 2 instances that it was effective were recited in Elvish. A door of the sea. Yeah. A door of the sea in spirit world. It's bearing very low. It's not the same as my honorific name. It's truly created it by copying it from the 7 true gods. Klein nodded gently and said, "Do you know where there are empty warehouses or abandoned houses?" I didn't tarnish... No, I didn't tarnish Dally. I said she could do better. Because somebody said Klein and Dally. And I said, God, no. Absolutely not. Of course, every great pirate knows a few. Donitz replied without hesitation. I don't know. You can look through the comments. So, someone, Cammy's out to get you. Take me there and do what? Although Donitz was puzzled, he didn't dare ask. In the dock area, in a dirty and dilapidated warehouse, Donitz watched Garamond Sparrow take out 3 candles and several metal bottles. Unable to hold back his curiosity any longer, asked, "What are you planning on doing?" I'm not tarnishing Klein either. And here thought, dude, and here thought I was the biggest Cammy rage baiter. Now we know what gets you. To whom Donitz pressed with interest, Klein said, I only say realistic ships like Klein and Leonard, or Garamond and Donitz, or me and Garamond, or, you know, just like normal ones. Or me and Trissy. His plans was to give some directly to Calvatua. As long as Calvatua accepted it, he could use divination and other methods to find its hiding place. As for whether certainly considered it, believing that I was definite possible. As Calvatua was currently on the verge of death, it was a state of extreme madness with little sense of reason. It acted on instinct. I don't think they're like way out of my league. I think that I would be reaching, but I wouldn't need like a stool to reach, you know? I would just need like tippy toes. As for whether or not Calvatua would accept it, he had certainly considered believing that it was definite possibility. As Calvatua was currently on the verge of death, it was a state of extreme madness with little sense of reason. It acted on instinct alone, and it might have a strong sense of aura in the gray fog. Therefore, Klein was prepared to sacrifice the iron cigar case that was often placed above the gray fog. He wanted to see if Calvatua would accept it or not. And if he didn't, he would suffer any losses. He could then pretend as though nothing had happened. Sacrifice to sea god Calvatua. At that moment, Donitz found his brain lacking. He couldn't comprehend what was on Garamond Sparrow's mind. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? How could you accept your sacrifices even if it's accepted? What would be the point? It's dying and it's very dangerous, Donitz blurted out. Immediately added inwardly, no, Garamond Sparrow isn't crazy because he has always been crazy. Klein glanced at him and simply said, in this domain, I'm an expert. Klein's about to domain expansion. When it comes to sacrificial rituals, I'm an expert. Klein wasn't modest about this at all. Chapter 545. What the hell is happening in chat right now, you guys? I think I spelled it right. Is that how I spell it? I'm pretty sure that's spelled right. Yeah, that's pretty good. What are you guys doing? I mean, hey, we can have yaoi, we can have no yaoi. It's okay. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. It's all good. You know? Klein is for everybody. That's why he changes his persona so much. Chapter 545. The Enraged Calvatua. You guys have fun and deal with that. I'm gonna enjoy this. I'll just give you guys background music for whatever's going on. Just a little background noise. Donitz felt choked, unable to say a word. He quickly stepped aside and watched as Garin Sparrow lit the candles, burned some powder, and dripped some extract. Yup. Yeah, pretty much. Dude, chat's going through something right now. Pick your sides, honestly, at this point. Fuck. You're using the wrong materials, right? You remembered that the resistance didn't use things like full moon essence, slumber flower, or chamomile when sacrificing to the sea god. It's not like you're praying to the Evernight goddess. Klein turned his head and looked at him, then he returned his gaze to the altar. Thank you for the bird chills. The last 2 days were really chill. I don't really know what's going on right now. But you know what? Whatever happens, at least make it entertaining, you know? And, respect each other. I don't think we love each other enough. Okay, as a professional who often offered their received sacrifice, he was very aware that the burning and extract essential oils and herbal powder mainly had 2 users. That was the help of the ritual host, but better adjusted his spirituality and enter the proper state, and the other was to please the corresponding deity. To please the target of the sacrificial object and to increase the probability of a response in the aspect, every deity had a certain characteristic and preference. This sacrifice, on the other hand, mainly relied on Calvatua's abnormal state of mind. It had gone completely crazy and it thirsted for the Grey Fog's aura. Neither of the 2 could be missing and everything else wasn't important. As long as the information 2 conditions were satisfied, please Calvatua did not affect the ritual. It neither increased the success rate nor would it increase the possibility of failure. It could be completely handled in a perfunctory manner. If Calvatua still retains the reason, and even if I were to strictly follow the requirements of this ritual, do you think it would respond to me? Klein silently lampooned and took half a step back. Ready to start the most important part of the ritual, he thought for a moment, then, without turning his head, he said directly, "Stay further away." Me, instead of getting angry, Donald was overjoyed. He quickly nodded. "All right, okay." He rushed to the door in the warehouse, planning to escape the moment something went wrong. Klein half closed his eyes, cogitating about the countless spherical lights that overlapped each other, and he quickly entered the proper state. He chanted softly in Elvish, adored the sea and spirit world guardians for the Rorst Archipelago ruler of the undersea creature master of tsunamis and storms, the great Calvatua. Your devoted servant prays for your attention. I pray for you to take this offering. I pray for you to open the gates to your kingdom. As he said the awakened sentence, one after another, the sound of the wind rose while the wall of spirituality, as if it was going to overturn everything. Klein's clothes fluttered in the wind as he took out another small metal bottle, and had prepared beforehand. He poured about 5 milliliters of remaining thousand-faced hunter's blood into the air. This was a material filled with spirituality. The strong wind sucked the drops of blood, howling as if drilled into the candle flame and symboled sea god Calvatua. Without a sound, the candle flame begrudged to form an illusory door. On the surface there were symbols of magic labels. From the inside, a faint sound of crashing waves could be heard. Suddenly, all the signs of movement vanished. There was only a sound of breathing, and I don't think I've ever seen chat so active. And you know what? Here's the thing about it is I'm really just enjoying reading my book. We're at a very interesting part, and the person who is getting slandered and flamed and y'all are bickering about isn't me. So I'm just gonna kind of let you guys do your thing. I'm just here. I'm just observing, to be totally honest. Hiding behind it, something massive that was suppressing its hunger with great difficulty. The sound of the loud, heavy breathing became clearer and clearer to the point that even despite being situated at the door of the warehouse, Donnet still felt his scalp tingle. The illusory door suddenly opened and something that visibly resembled a hurricane popped out. Amidst the sharp wailing sounds, Donitz felt the invisible wall of spirituality shatter. He discovered that he had been thrown into the air like a small boat in a storm. He slammed into the door, producing a dull thud. He fell outside of the warehouse, his back scuffed from several wooden splinters. The scarlet fireball that had instinctively condensed in his hand instantly dimmed and was quickly extinguished in the hurricane like a candle that was about to burn out. While he was flying in mid-air, it's okay, guys. It's okay. It's okay. I'm not even paying attention to chat right now. That it's actually just for you guys. I'm really locked in on my book, so it's okay. The scarlet fireball that he had instinctively condensed in his hand instantly dimmed and was quickly extinguished in the hurricane, like a candle that was about to burn out. While he was flying in midair, he saw that he looked to be bloody, gaping mouth appear behind an illusory door. It revealed murky white sharp teeth, which was slightly curved and longer than a human arm. As it madly smashed against the illusory door, bit by bit, to enter the real world, its beast-like howls first echoed inside the warehouse, causing Donitz to bleed from his ears and his nose. No! Klein also flew up to the sky as a result of the hurricane, and his line of sight was immediately occupied by a bloody forked and massive forked tongue that burst forth with sparkling lightning. His body was scorched black as it stuffed into the air. The forked tongue pierced through his body as it was reduced to ashes. Klein's figure appeared on the other side. His hat had fallen off and his clothes were messy. He looked rather wrenched. Fortunately, he knew the situation would occur and knew that there was going to be danger. He had constantly been on a high alert, and he didn't let down his guard and use his paper figurine statues just in time. At that moment, Calvatu, who was situated behind the upturned illusory door, finally revealed that its violent blows had no effect and stopped. It took a deep breath, then caused the blue seawater to gush in from all forms of directions. The water then collapsed into whirlpools that emanated a terrifying suction force. It was so powerful that it could swallow the cargo ship. The iron cigar case on the altar flew into a vortex. The tiny cauldron containing some herbal ashes flew up into the whirlpool. Many objects were within the warehouse, along with the soil, were thrown into the whirlpool. Klein also flew up as he found it difficult to resist being thrown into the whirlpool. He tried to snap his fingers and ignite the flames and leap out of the whirlpool's reach, but the suction force and the hurricane spoiled his palms. His figure suddenly became thinner, turning into paper figurine. As the paper figurine fell to the whirlpool, Klein, who had emerged from another position, once again soared into the air, unable to extract himself from the terrifying suction force. I'll show him some terrifying suction force. At this critical moment, he no longer hesitated. He made the black gloves he wore on his left palm turn pale as it was tangled in some dark green color. He activated creeping hunger and he directly used Steel Mavetti's soul. Klein's body suddenly grew heavy as he pushed forward and with his left palm, an ice wall that was too thick solidified in front of him, helping him temporarily isolate Sea God's whirlpool. I feel like the guy thing. No, actually. Someone just needs to do like a really fast fucking loop of chat today. There's probably more words in chat than there is in this fucking book. Taking advantage of this, Klein landed to his feet heavily, landing on the ground as he sank deep into the ground. The ice wall lasted only a second before it was shrouded by pieces by the boundless suction force, and the remnants flew into the huge sea serpent's throat. Relying on the strength of a zombie, Klein used both his feet to hold himself in place and no longer flew up again. However, he was still unable to stop himself from sliding towards the illusory door where Calvatua's gaping mouth was. He drew 2 deep ravines on the ground in the process. Outside the warehouse, Donitz wasn't affected by the suction force of the whirlpool. Instead, he tried condensing a fireball to throw to his side, allowing Garamond Sparrow to jump out of his predicament and escape. Unfortunately, the flames were extinguished again and again by the hurricane. As Klein drew closer to the illusory door, he could smell the stench of blood and decay. Right in front of him were milky white fangs that emanated a chilly air. This thought raced, and he quickly came to the solution. The solution was simple. It was to throw out the all-black eye that originated from Marionettis Rosago. I mean, to each their own, man, but, I mean... Okay. Pop off, I guess. Since you want to make a whirlpool in the sea in a bid to devour everything, I will make you consume another bottle of Beyonder Potion. Without any supplementary ingredients, as well as the mental corruption of the true creator. If that's the case, I don't believe that you, who's already on the verge of collapse, will be able to hold on. Klein gritted his teeth and reached into his pockets. Perhaps it had sensed his malicious intent, or perhaps it lost its patience. But at that moment, Calvatua suddenly raised her head and let out a long howl, causing the seawater whirlpool in his throat to collapse and disintegrate into countless water droplets which sprayed out of the illusory door. Splash! Torrential rain fell in the warehouse, and the dazzling silver ball of intertwined lighting condensed in Calvatua's throat once again. With a boom, it spat out a lightning ball amidst the torrential rain. A silver ball of lightning transformed into streaks of stunning lightning bolts that quickly expanded outwardly. It destroyed the frugal altar and occupied the entire warehouse. Klein's figure kept phasing in and out of existence amid the sea of lightning. Sucked the soul right out of him. His body would char and turn into scraps of paper. Inside the warehouse, Donitz also suffered its effects. All his hair stood up on his body, convulsed. After continuously using paper figurines, substitute and approaching his limits, Klein finally managed to withstand it until the lightning subsided. Bye, thank you so much for coming. As the illusory door, it was affected by the complete destruction of the ritual and quickly closed. Creek, Sea God Calvatua hissed of indigestion were isolated by the door. After a moment, the illusory door completely disappeared, and surrounding were the wretched mess. Wait. Wretched mess. Only a candle was left to the altar. Weakly staying in its flames, Donitz leaned forward against the warehouse wall, barely standing in the doorway. He tried to speak, but he couldn't stand convulsing. He could only express his grievances with his eyes. Garamond Sparrow was really a madman. I still can't remember the horror and experience of Banshee Harbor, and I still have nightmares about it previously. When he was picking out items offered by the Resistance, he attracted the curse of the sea gods, so I was so frightened that I almost ran away. While on our journey back, this time he even did some sacrificial ritual and nearly summoned Calvatua over. It was really extremely dangerous. Just now, why does he love to take risks so much and enjoy causing major trouble? After time and time, he searches for thrills while on the brink of death. Just gonna pause really quick. What are we doing right now? I've been really locked in on the book. And then I just kind of looked up and okay. Honestly, I'm just gonna leave it and keep reading. Okay. I feel like a mom who just like walked in on her kids doing something and like just like slowly walked out because you couldn't even say anything about it. You were just like, yeah, I'm just gonna let that one sit there. Your father can deal with it. I'm not. No. Yeah. I really don't exist today. You guys have like a whole ecosystem going on in chat today, and I'm just here. I am full background noise. And you know what? It's kind of nice. It is kind of nice. Yeah, so I'll just continue doing this. Don't do any weird stuff. That's all I can really ask. But I think we crossed that line like 14 pages ago. Yeah. Anyway, at the same time, he found that regardless of it being due to luck or inevitability, Calvatua had accepted his sacrifice in all sense of the word. This is because the huge sea serpent had swallowed the iron cigar case, which had been tainted with the gray fog's aura and many other things while producing the whirlpool. In other words, I can try to locate the hiding place in the spirit world, but I'll have to wait for its death so that it can interfere and resist my divination. This search would require me to enter the spirit world, and I can't keep using the gray fog forever. Klein quietly let out a breath and felt the glove on the back of his hand. Become filled with an indiscernible madness and hunger. It seems like it was going to devour the were if it wasn't fed. Damn. And there are no sinners around. He's not going to, right? All I was going to say is that every word started in this chat stream ended in some sort of... Yeah, I don't really know what's going on with chat. There are no sinners around. Klein turned his head, looking at Donitz, who was standing by the door. He's not gonna do it, right? Donitz's mind suddenly tightened, as he felt as he was being targeted by a monster and was about to become food for the other party. The hunger he felt at a spiritual level had made him tremble slightly. He yearned to immediately turn around and flee. Then he heard Garamond Sparrow's indifferent voice. Close the door from the outside. All right. Resisting the residual pain from the electric shock, Donitz moved the door, which would be sent flying open, barely closing the hold. Klein seized the moment to carry out a sacrificial ritual. He prayed to himself, responding to himself by throwing the creeping hunger that was about to lose control above the fog. The mystical item that had frightened Donitz so much so that he didn't dare to resist immediately became docile, gentle, and tame. Damn. Chapter 540. Oh, Spirit World. Okay, so we finally get to learn stuff about like Spirit World and stuff, you know? Yeah, probably because you fucking weirdos scared them all off. Oh my god. Oh my god. Struggling. I would just say that every single person. Transparent, why are you writing yaoi about people in chat? Is that what was going on? Thank God I just had my book as I was here. Okay, I'm just gonna focus on the book. I'll just do that. Damn. Yeah, Bullseye, you should have been here because there was a lot going on, and I wasn't gonna do anything about it, but somebody should have. And you kind of need to be here. I gave you mod privileges on day one, and you're really not showing me that you deserve them. So, do better next time. Chapter 546, Spirit World. Upon return to the real world, Klein extinguished the candles, put away the remaining items, and carefully checked the situation in the warehouse. Luckily for him, the whirlpool of seawater created by Calvatua had completely wiped the area clean, leaving only the subsequent sprays of rain. I don't want you to do anything that you don't want to do. All I'm saying is, you know, it's kind of like if someone was like paying a nanny and then you just find out that the nanny like dipped halfway through the job that they were supposed to do. Luckily for him, the whirlpool of seawater created by Calvatua had completely wiped the area clean, leaving only... He's getting paid with the... He's getting... You know what it is? He's not getting paid with, like, money, but he's getting paid with the pride of being a moderator. Yeah. I think that's it. The blackened patches from the lightning strikes and sparse piles of ash, as well as the ravines produced by Klein's 2 feet. The traces are easy to deal with. I can get Donitz to use his fireball to wash the place later. Disguising it as an internal strife between pirates, Klein nodded indiscernibly and pulled one of the few remaining paper figurines. He shook his forearm and flicked his wrist. The paper figurine flew out and buried it on his own before turning into black ash. After doing all of this, Klein walked towards the door, frowning as he walked. The soles of his boots were gone, and the rest of his clothes were tattered and torn, wet and charred. This was unavoidable under those circumstances, as it wasn't something a paper figurine could withstand. The tearing was a result of the potent suction from the whirlpool, The moist sensation came from Calvatua's torrential rain, and the charred black marks were a result of being struck by bolts of lightning in the interval when Klein was using his paper figurine substitute. Even now, despite having calmed down, his right forearm still spasmed a few times due to the electric shock. It cost me £8, 6 soldi to have a new set of clothes. I had divined danger and made preparations but I didn't expect Calvatou to be more powerful and crazier than I expected. I hoped that I gained something later. Klein suddenly shook his head and restrained his expression and endured the pain before coming to a door and knocking 3 times. Donitz, who was constantly uneasy, hesitated for 2 seconds before he opened the door. Discovering that Gehrman... That's a crazy yowie. Discovering that Gerwin Sparrow had returned to his cold and reserved state, and him no longer emanating the hunger and madness that struck terror into his spirituality, Donitz let out a sigh of relief. He took a glance inside and asked, "Is it over?" "No." Klein curled the corners of his lips and revealed a gentle smile. Oh, why is it not going? "Not yet." Donitz jumped in fright. What else needs to be done? Klein maintained a smile and concealed madness. "A cleanup is still necessary. That's basic courtesy." "A cleanup? Is he gonna make Donitz do the cleanup?" "A cleanup." Donitz was stunned, raising his right hand and pointed at himself and said, "Me?" The corners of Klein's mouth widened. "Or shall I do the honors?" "Then I would be eaten by creeping hunger." Donitz let out a hollow laugh. "Or should I clean this place?" "Use a fireball," Klein answered simply. As a part-time pirate, it didn't take much effort for Donitz to understand German Sparrow's intentions. He walked past him and headed to the interior of the warehouse. During the process, he had a few questions in mind, which were quite puzzling. Captain said that creeping hunger needs to devour a living person every day, but German Sparrow can only satisfy it after a battle. He usually doesn't bother with it. Besides, in a battle just now, German Sparrow had used steel Mavetti's ice powers. He didn't feed it after. Strange, what secret lies behind this? A seal of a certain level? Or can it be that the organization behind him was capable of sealing creeping hunger? As Donitz cleared the warehouse, Klein stood outside, looking up at the overhanging dark clouds, looking forward to what would happen next. I have a question. Does Donitz join the tarot club? Don't actually answer because I don't actually want to know, but does he join the tarot club? Because I feel like that would be really cool if he did. I feel like he'd be a really good character to join the tarot club. I've already sent... No, dude, I really hope he does. Because here's the thing, I want Klein to collect all these people in the tarot club that he's met as all these different personas, and then I want at the very end them all to realize that it was actually him. That'd be so good. To collapse and die. I hope the Beyonders of the Church of Storms and the Kingdom military won't have time to find the time or leave behind some items. A certain value they bring a little of. Klein slowly took a deep breath, listening to the dull bombardment sounds coming from behind him. In a hostel, Alger stood at the window staring out at the overcast sky. I received the Sanguine's aesthetic gas. Not long after the last tarot gathering, I was prepared to go out to sea to gather ingredients, but a week has passed, and I'm still stuck in Bayham. The corners of his mouth twitched as he shook his head. First, there was an incident of the world hunting Steel Mavetti. It earned him quite a sizable amount of money, and then he had to wait for the reward. After that, when the reward was obtained, he encountered... Oh my god, I just realized something. So, if Klein's gonna pretend that the world is German Sparrow, does that mean that we're gonna get German Sparrow for, the rest of the book, but he'll just have to pretend to be the world? Oh my god, I might be so happy right now. First, there was an instant of the world hunting Steel Mavetti. It earned him quite a sizable amount of money. Oh my god, no, dude, I'm I'm kicking my feet, twirling my hair. Are we gonna get Garamond Sparrow for the rest of the book because he's gonna have to pretend to be the world because everybody now knows he's the world? Oh my god, I'm so excited. And was ordered to search for an adventurer and archaeologist, Leticia and company. I heard that during the investigation yesterday morning, Leticia and the others were found, and the mandated punishers in the military seemed to have obtained some important clues, and quite a number of them went to Siamese Island. This is something that I'll never have dibs on. Alger retracted his gaze, pulled up a short robe that didn't reach his knees, and muttered to himself, let it end as soon as possible. Once Kalfatua was completely dead and the tsunami was no longer a latent risk, he could leave the harbor after leaving the city of Generosity Bayam. He could work to advancing to Sequence 6 Wind Blessed. As his mind whirled, Alger's heart skipped a beat, and he turned around to look out the window. He saw the clouds high in the sky quickly dissipate, with the crimson moon quietly hanging in the sky. Klein slept until midnight. When he was suddenly jolted awake, he had vaguely sensed something. He rolled out of bed, went to the window, and pulled back the curtains. Crimson moonlight shone in, covering everything like frost. It was cold and dreamy. Klein looked out and saw that the clouds watched hung low had disappeared. The bright crimson moon was high in the sky, and amidst the sparse stars. This meaning that the confrontation between the sea god and sea king has ended. Klein pondered for 2 seconds, retracted his gaze, closed the curtains, took 4 steps counterclockwise, and went above the gray fog. He sat at the end of the long molten table, took out a gold coin, and began to recite the divination statement in a low voice. Kalvatua is completely dead. After he repeated this 7 times, he picked the gold coin and watched it leap upwards and tumble down. The gold coin landed in Klein's palm, and the king's head faced up. It meant a positive result. It meant that the sea god Kalvatua was completely dead. As expected, the ancient elven ruins on Siamese Island and the hidden place where Kalvatua used to maintain its existence are closely connected. The mandated punishers in the military have just received the Book of Calamity, and since they only learned about the ruins for a little more than a day before Kalvatua could hold out much longer, I thought it could forcibly survive for 2 or 3 more days. Klein sighed and tried to divine whether the official Beyonders had already entered Kalvatua's hiding place. Unfortunately, due to the lack of information, the divination failed, and he was unable to obtain any revelations. After thinking for a while, Klein changed his angle, undid his spirit pendulum, and began to divine if it was dangerous for him to search and explore Kalvatua's hiding place. As this involved himself, he quickly received a conclusion. The topaz pennant was rotating counterclockwise at a not-so-fast frequency and low amplitude. It's dangerous, but it's acceptable. The danger is even less than a sacrificial ritual. Klein nodded gently, returned to the real world, and began his preparations for his operation. He looked into the bedroom's first door, and he arranged the ritual to summon himself. Once again entering above the gray fog, Klein picked up the all-black Emperor card and placed it inside the spirit body. All of a sudden, Klein turned corporeal as if he was of flesh and blood. The surrounding black fog stuck to the surface of his body and formed a majestic aura. It was as if he was entirely clad with physical armor, but on his head was a gorgeous pitch-black crown. Looking at the human-skinned glove on the table, Klein hesitated to put it on. Above the gray fog, creeping hunger was almost in a steeled state. It didn't dare to make an unusual movement, but once it left the area, the uncontrollable hunger would cause harm to its wielder, whether they were alive or in a spirit form. Amidst Klein's consideration as whether the Black Emperor's hunger level could suppress the creeping hunger inside his spirit body and keep it normal, I'll give it a try. If it doesn't work, I'll end this. I don't know. You know what? Here's the thing. You guys keep coming back. Do I appreciate it every single time? Yes. Thank you so much for coming back every single time. It's been a joy. It's wonderful. But you guys keep coming back. So that means at some deep down level, you enjoy listening to laugh. Yep. And laugh. You know what? Watching back some of the chat and videos and stuff, I now realize why kings and queens had gestures. That's why. That shit's entertaining. That shit's entertaining as fuck. It really is. I'll give it a try. If it doesn't work, I'll end the summon and return here. This is hardly require any time, and there's no danger. Klein picked up Creeping Hunger and put it on the iron black gauntlet. Your... Who knows? Maybe I am, maybe you are. We'll figure out as time goes on. Flame, he arrived in the real world. Without being careless, Klein's first reaction was to crack the state of creeping hunger. He found out the calm and submissive, subservient, and high... Wait, whoa. Klein in the same sentence as submissive and subservient? Sign me up. Without being careless, Klein's first reaction was to check the state of creeping hunger. He found it calm and submissive, subservient to the high level of the Black Emperor. Not bad, with a sigh of relief. Klein placed the mystical item such as Azek's copper whistle and biological poison bottle and the sun brooch into his body one by one. Finally, he picked up the black hardwood cane and prepared to use it to search for his lost iron cigar case. This had been tainted with the Grey Fog's aura. Of course, in order to find the place where Calvatua was hiding, one had to first enter the spirit world and pinpoint the location from within, otherwise it would only fail. As for how to enter spirit world, Klein didn't consider the three methods provided, but Mr. Azek, as a spirit body with intelligence and ability to think, how was he not able to find the spirit world and enter it? He calmed down a little and recalled the scene of countless spherical light. His body and mind quickly became tranquil. His thoughts gradually became empty as his consciousness gradually extended and expanded. Sorry, what? He soon discovered that the surroundings by indiscernible, illusory, transparent things, all the colors became bright, distinct, and overlapping, but the gray fog had grown so faint and it seemed to cover anything in its ethereal matter. In the depths, high up in the sky, there were 7 rays of lustrous brilliance that shone in different colors. They seemed to possess life and they contained immense knowledge. I never said I was judging anything. You do you, boo. You do you. I'll do Gavin Sparrow and you do you, you know? This was the spirit world that completely overlapped with reality and was omnipresent. If I happen to encounter the Mandate Punchers or military personnel, I will immediately end the summoning and return above the gray fog. Klein took a step forward after easily entering the spirit world. He felt his body become illusory. The black cloak behind him fluffed up silently, and the hardwood cane in his hand stood upright. Exactly. We're all cracking Klein. Like, that's just the facts of it. He said in a low, dignified voice, "The location of my iron cigar case." While chatting, Klein felt tense for a baffling reason in the saturated and distinct colors of his surroundings. Pairs of indifferent and eerie eyes glanced over. After repeating it several times, Klein released his grip and waited for the revelation. The black hardwood cane floating towards an adequate speed, which was neither fast nor slow. Klein followed it, flying around the realm, the illusory and strange and mysterious spirit world. Here, if he lost his bearings, it was easy to end up completely lost and never be able to leave again. Of course, there wasn't a problem for Klein. If he really got lost, he could end up summoning and returning directly to the space above the gray fog. Is he gonna find something in the spirit world? Klein chased after the black cane, which was something thrown and sometimes dropped. Shuttling back and forth between distinct and overlapping colors, he passed by half-hidden spirit world creatures that couldn't be accurately described, and it was hard to know far he had traveled. Suddenly he saw an eye. It was round and clear, with clear blacks and whites. The eye looked at him without blinking. There was no head, nor was there a corresponding body. The huge eye had its black and white, clear, apparent, translucent. It floated quietly above saturated, overlapping colors. Klein could tell if it was hostile or friendly. At this moment, Klein remembered a passage from the sights of the spirit world. The ancestors of the Abraham family had said, "Try not to cross eyes with any creatures from the spirit." Try not to cross eyes with any creatures from the spirit world for more than 3 seconds unless they have already expressed interest in communicating with you. This is considered provocative behavior. Also, do not let yourself appear terrified and nervous. For some predators, this will increase their desire for attack. As the words flowed through his mind, Klein retracted his gaze and continued to chase after the flying hardwood cane in front of him. It was rather adequate speed. The sight of the full black armor set and black crown he donned, matched with a cloak in the same color, entered the round eye. But the figure quickly passed by, disappearing far away. It didn't stir up the slightest change. In essence, the spirit world is a very dangerous place. If one isn't careful, one can encounter terrifying existence at the demigod level. As Klein continued to make his way through, he realized that this place was truly chaotic. Although the 7 illusory brilliances that could be used to mark his location remained high above, covering the sky, they did not be seen from time to time beneath his feet, his left and right, and from front to back. For if not for his black cane, Klein wouldn't have been able to determine his bearings. Suddenly, through the faint fog in the void, he saw on his left, based a normal human being's concept of left, a floating castle. It was entirely black in color, its spire towered, and it's covered with vines extremely reminiscent of Gothic style. At that top of the castle stood a translucent woman who was almost as tall as the castle. She was wearing a complex, gorgeous, dark, and gloomy black dress. She didn't have a head, and there was near cut by her neck. It's Anne Boleyn. Her drooping hands held 4 blonde heads with red eyes. If one looked closely, they would find that these brilliant-looking heads were exactly the same. When Klein, who was disguised as the Black Emperor, passed by, the foreheads of the woman carried blinked. Klein didn't respond as he flew forward and thought he hadn't seen her. The woman slowly turned her body, letting the heads in her hands watch him depart. Well, what kind of monsters are these? As the thoughts flashed through Klein's mind, he saw the black cane plummet rapidly. He hurriedly chased after it, once again experiencing the feel of a free fall. About 8 seconds later, faintly discernible collapsed buildings appeared in front of him. Outside the buildings floated spirit world creatures which resembled giant jellyfish. It extended transparent, sticky tentacles and pulled the surrounding areas into its own territory. At the end of each tentacle grew a white skull with deep eye sockets. It kept shaking as it floated about with light but slow movements. The black cane passed through the strange creatures of the spirit world and hovered in front of the almost illusory collapsed building. Found it? Klein was delighted, and first before he solemnly glanced at the giant jellyfish that was waving its skull. He made preparations for battle, but he didn't attack immediately. Instead, he tried to emit the profound dignity that came with the high-level Black Emperor card. His eyes indifferently stared at the eye socket that were deeply recessed, and after 3 seconds of frozen silence, Klein said ancient Hermes in a low voice, "Leave." The tentacles supporting the skull twitched twice. Then the giant jellyfish slowly floated up, disappearing into the depths of the spirit world. The Black Emperor card is still very useful. I was already considering throwing Mr. Azek's copper whistle. The descendant of death should still have some standing in the spirit world. Klein breathed a sigh of relief and descended, grabbing his black hardwood cane. Then he fell onto the collapsed building ruin with a sense of anticipation. For him, even if the Church of Storms and the kingdom's military had found this place ahead of time and had taken away the most valuable items, he would still be satisfied as long as there was some remaining. Even if there's nothing to do, it'll be sufficient for me to explore an elven ruin and see the information they left behind. When Klein passed through the ethereal berries and resembled a curtain, he felt the air around him suddenly become thick and heavy. A shimmering wave of light appeared around him, coming from the deep blue water that filled the area. At the bottom of the sea was an ancient dark ruin. All of the buildings had either collapsed or half collapsed. A huge pillar, carved with strange patterns and symbols, extended out from the middle. It appeared to be heading straight up to the top, as if it had supported the place in the past, but now it was broken and was leaning on the top of the nearby building. Klein recognized this place as well as the pillar. It was the hiding place of the sea god Calvatua, a hidden place where reality bended blended with the spirit world. At that very moment, the unwilling, pained, angry, and crazed screamed echo in the air. It didn't weaken in the slightest. The scream was precisely the same howl of hatred that Calvatua had let out before its death. It's really dead. Holding the black cane, Klein landed on the greenish gray stone road in front of the ancient ruins. On both sides of the road stood pillars that were neither thick nor tall, and on them were also strange patterns that were definitely from the symbols of magic labels from before. At the bottom of the stone pillar, there was a figure sitting beside it. Some of them wore ancient robes, while some wore brown jackets and were fashionable nowadays. As soon as they sensed someone approaching, they raised their swords, axes, and other weapons. Swiftly but quickly, they turned to where Klein was, revealing their withered gray-black faces and their shriveled bodies, which were devoid of any flesh and blood. Oh, it's all those locals that died. Their eyes, feverish and numb, were fixed on Klein, who was wearing a black crown and black armor. Calvatua's devotees, however, this meant that the Church of Storms and the Kingdoms of the Military haven't found this place yet. Klein sighed and injected his spirituality into the sun brooch. He muttered the word in ancient Hermes, holy. He activated the sun brooch. That's what I'm wondering, like, should I probably, like, change the music at some point? This is gonna be another situation where, like, I should have and I didn't. Okay. Any requests on what I should change it to? Klein flicked his wrist and threw his cane. Because I'll change it to anything. I'm so locked in what I'm reading. Honestly, nothing else exists. To be, like, super honest. Honestly, I don't really remember which one that is. You know what? Oh my god, she did lag. Not sure why. Oh. I'm going. I'm going. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. Oh my god. No, the reason why there's lag, and it's just the way that it is, the internet in this building's really bad for some reason. Like, really, really bad. And they keep sending someone to fix it, and every time they fix it, they don't actually fix it. They make it 10 times worse. So, just kind of, like, do what you can with it. And then we have someone to, like, come and fix it in our, like, apartment. But we'll see. We'll see. I know. I don't think I'll ever finish the book. Okay, I'm gonna start now. He bent his body slightly, changing towards the first guard who came rushing over. While running at high speeds, Klein suddenly turned left and dodged the enemy's axe. He then swung his arm backwards and used his cane to draw a clearish grayish white crack on the enemy's body. Pure golden flame silently rose from within the crack, reaping around the sea god guard and burning it until it was on the verge of collapse. Klein exerted strength into his feet and stomped past the enemy. Behind him, the completely dissected sea god guard finally collapsed, turning into ash within the golden flames. Klein bent his back, quickly moving forward, something in the side, something diagonal, and he passed through each of the sea gods. At the same time, he branded his cane, whipping, stabbing, cleaving, and slashing, leaving different marks on the guards that resembled dissected corpses. Klein passed through the road and arrived in front of the half-collapsed ruins. Behind the great fluttered black cloak, the sea god guards bloomed and golden torches lit up the grayish-green stone slate and patterned pillars. Amidst the chaos, the guards fell down one after another and no longer moved. Klein went up in steps and entered the building where the half-collapsed pillars were. The first thing he entered was an unimaginably huge blue sea serpent with scales all over its body, were slippery oh no, it's going back. First thing were scales all over its body and slippery and were covered in patterns that were similar to the symbols inside the ruins. Its gripping jaws bit into the pillar and curved milky white fangs sinking in. The body below its head height was thumped across the ground. Its coiled body occupied a third of the expansive hall, like a small blue hill. However, its surface was covered in wounds and mangled blood. The flesh, even the bones, could be seen. A mysterious cyan light that had already gathered over its body was creeping slowly towards one fang that was longer than the human arm. This caused the slightly curved, sharp bones to slowly straighten up. Its dying cry reverberated in the air, causing Klein's corporal spirit body to show signs of instability. At that moment, the old man wearing the clergyman's cap was lying beside Calvatua's body. His hair was gray, his body was like a gray rock. He stuck in the face tightly in the serpent body, making incomprehensible sounds from the throat. His actions were an unknown around the gigantic serpent's corpse, where dedicated corpses were similar to the sea guards outside. But there was an even more bizarre. Their stomachs bulged to the point of rupturing. In addition, their mouths were stained with dark red blood and had strips of bluish meat hanging from them. The blue dots in the light leaked out from their bodies, rushing towards the white fangs that gently straightened up. Before Klein could figure out what was such a scene signified, the old man in the clergyman caps, who was lying on top of Calvatua, stood up in staggered manner and turned around. Jesus. And turned around. His eyes are flashing with the blue light. His mouth was covered in red blood meat, which was using all of the strength to bite into. In the place where his face had been stuck to, the snake's body was mangled. It was missing a lot of flesh and blood, and even its bones were almost visible. He was eating up the corpse of the sea god Calvatua. This, Klein frowned, roughly understanding that what was happening. After Calvatua's death, the priests and guards in the hall lost control and began to practically devour flesh and blood. At this point in time, the Beyonder characteristics had yet to appear completely. Calvatua's body still contained a large part of it, and mainly guards had problems with the potion overdose or conflicting pathway characteristics. They broke down on the spot and died completely. However, there were still people who were lucky enough to survive the sudden death, or there were those who lost control of themselves but became distinguished monsters, and those who directly skipped a few sequences and became a powerhouse, or those who became lunatics with distorted demonic powers due to the mixture of the pathway's characteristics. Regardless of which one it was extremely dangerous. Klein looked down from the surviving priest's face to see his belly bulging like a pregnant woman's. Yep. Awesome! A strong, bludgeoning contract appeared through the resembling a huge heart. We don't have to do... Sorry, hi. What did I do wrong? I was really logged in. Oh, I didn't change the chapter number. You know what? Fair enough, man. That was on me. Trick to dealing with large creatures. Oh my god, I just deleted it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. See, I check my spelling like 6 or 7 times before I fucking write something. And that's all thanks to you guys. Just making it better. Oh. Okay, we're back in it. I'm like really locked in right now. Okay, in the ruins that was filled with the seawater was half flushed. Oh, was half fused with the spirit world. Klein stood up at the door and the central hall wearing his full black armor. Inside was a gigantic blue serpent's body that was being mutilated for food, and the old priest was in this bulging stomach. And I don't know why, but I feel like, you know what? Thank you. I'm happy that I'm better than like than a dog, you know? Cuz I was starting to doubt and like, you know, just doubt my lack as and like self-worth as a person. Cuz I was like, am I better than a dog? I don't know. But now I know. At least I'm better than someone's dog. You know what? And that's fair. I would also pick Susie over myself. Maybe. Yeah, you know what? Sometimes bullying is for the better, and sometimes it really gets you. Sometimes it really, really gets you. In the ruins, the later skin was grayish black and thought it had become distinct from prolonged exposure to the wind. His eyes flickered with an azure blue glow, and he had stared intently at the guest who wore a black crown and thought he was considering where he should start his meal from. Without any hesitation, Klein reached into his body with his right hand and took out a brown translucent bottle. God. Idiot. Then he stretched out his left palm and quickly unscrewed the lid before casually flinging the biological poison bottle to the corner of the hall. In this environment, which was half submerged under the sea, other than the fire of light which could consume the undead and evil, no other flames could exist. Thus, it also limited two important powers of Klein's magician sequence. Therefore, dude, I don't even want to wonder how many just basic English words. Honestly, you could probably put someone who's like English is their like 8th language and they could maybe possibly read better than me. And you know what? I wear it. Give me that badge. It just is what it is. Some people, you know, some people have trouble seeing and others have trouble hearing, and I just have trouble reading. And I like to think of those as superpowers. Yep. Because everybody's special. Around his body, the underlying seawater was satiated with golden color, and it spread outwards, layer after layer. This was the priests of light from the creeping hunger, light of purification. The old priest who had eaten part of the sea god Calvatua's body was certainly not civilized and polite enough to just watch Klein prepare for battle in a civilized manner. The blue light of the eyes suddenly bloomed, and his bloated belly once again swelled. An ethereal yet mournful sound came from his body, instantly covering the entire ruins. His voice was like a song of a nightingale, beautiful and also melodious at the same time. It was also cold and bone-piercing, one that penetrated right to the soul. Klein was frozen in place, similar to the thoughts. He had been blasted by extreme cold waves and instantly froze. The old priest's body was swelling up in an instant, as if he was resurrected Calvatua or a giant that had walked out of a mystical legend. Dude, Klein just can't escape this guy. After one another, blue slippery tentacles, all surrounded by silver lightning, emerged from under the ripple road. They shot out the dance air, stickling stunned towards. Sizzle, with a burst of silver light, Klein sent flying backwards before heaving towards the door. The black armor on his body diminished instantly and cracked as he subconsciously thrown the cane and his hand far in his hand far away. Thank you. His mind remained abnormally calm in a situation where he had almost froze. He didn't even have the thought of using paper figurine substitute and had taken up the blown head on. It wasn't for the Black Emperor card and Azek's copper whistle, which was simultaneously reinforcing his spirit body, with him essentially being a sequence 6, he wouldn't be seriously injured and even killed instantly. The tentacle surged over and struck down. Klein, who had jolted awake by the electricity, agilely somersaulted away, barely dodging the attack. He glanced at the man's body. He turned around immediately and ran out to the door without any hesitation. It was a determined and decisive action. Tap, tap, tap. As Klein ran a few and flew as though he was practically fleeing for his life, the old priest's silver lightning-shrouded blue tentacles were chasing him from behind in a bid to pull him back into the hall. But Klein would nimbly change directions, dodging with an agile movement and timely somersaults. Seeing that things weren't going as he wished, the old priest's belly expanded once again, and a cold voice shrouded the ruins. But this time Klein was prepared. Although his body remained stiff and bogged down, it was soaked by the seawater before turning into a pile of soggy paper. At last the old priest moved, with heavy but swift steps. He attempted to catch up with the enemy. The colossal figurine rushed to the door, and the colossal figure slammed onto the collapsed roof wall with a bang. The door, where he originally large enough for creatures like Calvatua to pass through, but the collapse of the ruin and madness of the sea god before his death had caused the place to collapse. The collapsed rubble left the door with an opening that was 2 meters tall and 1 meter wide. As for the old priest, whose mind was clearly abnormal, he had slammed right into it, causing him to be stuck. Klein, who had been waiting for his opportunity, stopped and turned around. He half closed his eyes, straightened his back, and spread open his arms. A beam of glowing light descended from the sky, pouring his old priest's body directly. Patches of the robe that hung over his body had ignited with grayish black skin, and the flesh fell to the ground in chunks, melting and evaporating under the pure radiance. It was only when Klein made what the oddity in the old priest's belly was. The swelling was intense, especially in several areas, forming the complete outline of 2 eyes in the mouth. It was as if there was something hiding inside the old priest's stomachs, putting their face there in an attempt to escape. The old priest exerted strength with his legs, which were covered by a black serpent skin, causing him to be... I didn't even notice the music changed. I'm going to be super honest. I was really locked in. I can change it to something else if you guys want. Just let me know. He finally broke away from the pillar of light, but mostly he was covered in the hideous wounds that caused by the collapse of the flesh. Even his face was filled with signs of melting. The old priest's blue tentacle filled in the air, bringing with them silver lightning that had flashed inclined from the direction. The face was an abnormality which occasionally made a sound that made the spirit body quiet down. Clyde engaged with either running, somersaulting, circling, or calmly twirling around with his opponent. He would go in the opposite direction when his opponent headed in one, just like the wild dance between 2 people. During this process, he relied on the paper figurine substitute to withstand the ethereal yet cold shrieking again and again. Occasionally, he would let out a roar and use the wraith shrieking to agitate the old priest, forcefully interrupting the face and the abdomen from producing any sounds. Time passed second by second, and carried old priest, who had been keeping his hands down, suddenly raised them and pressed them against his stomach. He filled with his arm, forcefully tearing the silhouette of the mouth into a gash. Blue pus gushed out of it, the dense array of sharp teeth grew out. With another roar, and seawater around him gushed towards the mouth, forming a terrifying whirlpool that Calvatua had previously created. Klein, who was dressed in the Black Emperor, was sucked in, and the lightning tentacles around him were retracted about and embraced him. Klein didn't panic, and the glove on his left palm quickly transformed, looking as if he was made out of pure gold. While floating in midair, he stared at the face on the old priest's abdomen and the seawater whirlpool below him. His eyes suddenly flashed with 2 bolts of lightning, interrogating, psychic, piercing. The old priest suddenly froze as the face and the abdomen wrinkled, and the terrifying suction force from the whirlpool instantly collapsed. In the waves that were rushing backwards, Klein lowered his body and swam through the weak spots like a fish. Dodging the randomly falling and blue tentacles, he rushed to the old priest's side amidst the constantly flashing silver lightning, and at some point in time, the color of his glove had changed to a pale green. The muscles on Klein's back bulged as he threw out the 2 punches, striking the old priest high in the vicinity of his knee. Bang, bang, bang. Flesh and blood splattered from the cold, emitting, punching his right legs, and covered in a thin layer of frost. The surrounding seawater was completely frozen. This was a zombie's control over ice. As the old priest carried on in pain, he reached the whipping tentacles, illuminating the entire ruin with silvery light. At that moment, Klein wasn't greedy and stopped just in time. He continuously somersaulted back, avoiding the crazy attacks that scorched the stone slab on the ground. He stood up, and while the old priest was still frozen in place, the glove on his left palm once again glowed with the color of the sun. Klein straightened up and took the pose of the praising of the sun, and thick, bright, and holy pillar of light descended once more, enveloping the old priest in it. Klein saw the grayish-black flesh on his enemy quickly disintegrate. The skin of the face of the enemy's abdomen melted, revealing the situation inside. Inside the old priest's abdomen, the heart, stomach, intestines, and other organs were mashed together, forming the face of the sea serpent. Calvatua actually still has a little of its soul left. The will of the demigod is truly beyond my imagination. Klein somersaulted again, dodging the blue tentacle that thrust at him like a spear, wrapping the lightning of the tentacle that had been melted away by the pillar of the holy light, stabbed into the ground, twisting, twitching, and squirming. The blue and clear light quickly disappeared, and the sinister serpent's face was the old priest's abdomen stubbornly opened its mouth once again. At that moment, the old priest himself had bent his waist and let out a fit of violent coughs. In effort for the serpent's face to come into abrupt halt, the biological poison bottle had finally shown its effects. Klein didn't miss the opportunity. He stood up straight again and spread its arms through. He was hugging the sun. Pillar of light with many golden flames illuminated the area. The old priest's figure first bent down, shrieking as if evaporated into thin air. The serpent's face at his abdomen let out a shrill cry before completely vanishing. By the time the light dissipated, the old priest had returned to his original state. His bones had almost melted, with pieces of grayish-black flesh still hanging from his body. His aura quickly dimmed as his spirit rapidly disintegrated. Klein rushed over and relying on the state as a wraith, began to channel his spirit. He wanted to confirm that the old priest was guilty of heinous crimes. He felt that he needed to maintain his bottom line, which was something he wished for, and a precaution against corruption and madness. All of a sudden, he saw images of the old priest presiding over all the living sacrificial rituals. Without hesitation, Klein reached out his left hand and let a long, starved glove taste its delicacy. Flesh and blood, spirituality, and bone quickly surged into the gaping mouth of the palm, along with the specks of blue light that came in the darkness. During the spirit channeling, Klein confirmed that the old priest was previously a soul assurer. The potion formula beyond our ingredient all came from the Church of the God of Combat from the Fasak Empire, and by the time he became a sea god guard, he had already lost this mind and could only obey orders. After the death of Calvatua, he had followed his instructions and eaten the flesh and blood of a deity he believed in. In the end, the conflicting characteristics turned him into a monster. Just as creeping hunger was satisfied, all the Beyonder characteristics on the ground suddenly stirred, turning into a hurricane and sweeping into the hall before plunging into the white fang that was no longer curved. While Klein looked over, he saw that Calvatua's remnant corpse had completely collapsed onto something that resembled mud. As for the serpent fang, which had absorbed all the Beyonder characteristics of the area, it had become a short scepter, quietly embedded in a half-collapsed pillar. On the tip of the white scepter, there were many tiny blue gems embedded there. Some of them dyed in black and others in light of dawn. Seeing that creeping hunger was satiated, Klein rushed over the hall, cautiously approaching the scepter. Before he really came in contact with the scepter, he heard layers of illusory prayers ringing in his ears and saw illusions. He saw worshippers prostrating and praying, as well as members of the Renaissance crying over the shattered statue of their god. Chapter 549. High Elf. We're gonna learn about elves! I was like really locked in there. Bye. And you know what I noticed? When I get really locked into the book, I can read really well. I can read really fucking well when I'm locked into the book. So, oh, fuck me. There it is. Yeah, okay, got it. Honestly, the music has just kind of been musicking, and I've just been letting it do its thing, and it wasn't bad. It was pretty good. Like I'm a okay. Yeah, dude, I don't know. Music's been cooking, so I just kind of let it do its thing. Sometimes it be doing that though. Sometimes it really be doing that, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm really proud of you. I'm really, really proud. So we're just gonna go until it doesn't anymore. It's a 4 and 3 letter word. I know how to spell high and I know how to spell elf, so we're good. Okay, chapter 549. This might be the last chapter. We don't need to bring up lesson. This might be the last chapter. We might do one more. I don't really know. We're going to see how I feel at the end of this chapter. We're going to see how I feel in 15 pages. So, starting off, as the layered sound of loser please rang up in his ears, Klein felt as though he possessed a corporeal body and deepest part of his head throbbed with pain. So much so that he yearned to slam his head into the wall to alleviate the pain with more pain. I'm learning so much about Klein. This scenes of different people praying and him made him feel an uncontrollable and abnormal, terrifying sense of dizziness. It was as if he was walking to the edge of a deep abyss. Dream lesson. Thanks, Harsh. You know what? I can always count on Harsh to bring up past spelling mistakes and errors. I feel like you keep a little journal of them all. I wouldn't be surprised. It was only because he had a spirit body reinforced with the Black Emperor card and Azek's copper whistle, as well as being accustomed to being prayed to, which had prevented him from losing control straight away like other non-demigod beyonders. They would have already collapsed in the ground to pain, turning into a monster or erupting into a mess of flesh and blood. All of the Beyonder characteristics in this area have combined together to form a sealed artifact. With the help of the Serpent Fang, moreover, the degree of danger and the negative effects have far surpassed that of a grade 2 sealed artifact. Klein didn't rashly move forward, but instead took a few steps back and left the area where the praying voices were conducted. To ease the pain and dizziness that would have caused his spirit body to collapse, he stood next to Calvatua's mashed body, which resembled slush, and he stared at the white scepter that had embedded in a half-collapsed pillar. He considered how he would take it away. At the same time, he naturally chose a name for the sealed artifact: Sea God Scepter. Yes, from the feelings and reactions just now, I can barely get close to it and pull it out, but I can only last a few seconds. There's no way for me to hold it or use it. However, it doesn't matter. Once I have it in my hands, I'll terminate the summoning ritual and return it above the gray fog. There I can effectively block the thousands of prayers and any of the still unknown negative effects. It will allow me to study it with ease. Klein quickly came up with an idea. In his wraith state, he could instinctively communicate with the spirit world and receive the revelations without needing to toss a coin. His spiritual intuition told him that doing so would be too dangerous. After making up his mind, Klein began to clean up the mess and take the opportunity to see what he could find in the ancient elven ruins. He first headed to the corner of the pickup of the translucent biological poison bottle, screwed the lid back on, and stuffed it into his body. Then he turned around to find an iron cigar case that was half hidden beneath the slushy remnants of Calvatua. I thought it had been swallowed by Calvatua and corroded into dregs. Klein clicked his tongue and wondered and quickly walked over. Because he had been left feeling numb from the discharged electric currents from the seawater, he raised his right hand, allowing the iron cigar case to float slowly in. Out of all the stuff that has been said and written in chat today, Harsh, that is the most alarming thing of all. I don't think you've complimented me once since I started doing this. And if you have, it was the most backhanded compliment, or like double-sided compliment I've ever had. Ew, don't do that. Don't fucking, ew, don't do that. Give me the creeps. Klein glanced around and saw the surface of the iron cigar case was covered with corrosion marks. However, it was still barely usable. As for the other items, there was sucked away by the seawater whirlpool back then. There were no signs of them. The ore of the gray fog made Calvatua uncomfortable, so it vomited it right away. Or has the iron cigar case undergone some sort of mutation that is not prone to corrosion, allowing it to survive until Calvatua died? Amidst his punishment, Klein placed the cigar case into his body, planning to study him after he left. Under such circumstances, he was in a race against time. He couldn't afford even the slightest delay because Klein didn't know when the Church of Storms and the Kingdom military would find this place. He walked around the half-collapsed pillars from the distance and entered the rear of the hall, which had almost completely collapsed. There should have been many murals here, but are we gonna find more Amen murals and like falling crater murals? But with the destruction of the walls, they had all disappeared. Oh, never mind. Klein flew all the way to the end of seeing the third of the high exquisite throne being buried in stone and pillars. On the left side of the throne, there was a half of a mural that depicted a confrontation between two figures. Looking down on the enemy above was a man treading waves with the dark clouds above him. He seemed to have a storm draped over him and had relatively softer features that contours had oriental trait from Klein's past life. He held a spear form in the pure lighting in his hands against the ocean that had drowned everything. Beneath the man was a man wearing a simple white robe. His face was blurry and it was difficult to discern his age. It was only barely possible to tell that he was a man. There was a halo behind the head of the white-robed man. It quietly emitted a bright light like a sun. Beneath his feet was an illusory circle of 12 segments. Each segment had symbols representing different times. Behind him was a shadow that was like a curtain, and within the shadows it appeared as though there were an eye peeking out from it. Relying on his solid foundation of mysticism and rich knowledge from many sources, Klein made an interpretation: wave, storm, dark cloud, lightning. This should be the ancient god, Elf King Sonyathrim. Indeed, he's just like the legends, with his rather soft facial features of an elf. An ancient lord of storms doesn't give any radical vibes, and his looks are surprisingly good. This is a mural on the ancient ruins, so it's normal for them to be beautiful in their own deity. The sun-like halo and the 12 circular segments that symbolize time. This isn't the father of a The sun-like halo and the 12 circle segments that symbolize time. Isn't this the father of Amon and Adam, the creator who knows in the outside world as the ancient sun god and is revered in the city of silver as the omnipotent and omniscient god? There's a shadow curtain behind him, and behind it hides an eye. Yes, one of the images of the true creator is an eye behind the shadow curtains. As expected, this is the creator who took back the ancient god's authority with 8 king of angels following him. Is the mural a depiction of the Elf King's battle against the creator? Um Klein retracted his gaze and began searching for something of value. Following his spiritual intuition, he came to the throne, reached into the base of collapsed stones and pillars, and pulled out an object. It was a flattened golden wine cup. Its surface was engraved with intricate patterns, and its wine leg had already bent. At the bottom of the row, elven words, Calamity Coinem. The original owner of this ruin and the high elf named Coinem. Tell me if I'm saying it wrong. I probably am, but I might be saying it right. Did he, or should I say he, have the title of Calamity? It matches the Book of Calamity that Leticia and company found. Both ruins should belong to the high elf
Kohanim, and there should be some kind of miraculous connection between them. Unfortunately, this golden cup is just a simple wine cup. It carries a bit of spirituality simply because it's indescribable with the true name of the High Elf. If Cohen hadn't Kohanim? Okay, well, how tell me how to say it and I'll say it right. Sound it. I'm sounding it properly. Cohinen. Kohanim. Kohanim. Konim. Konim? Pronounce the H, I think. Like Kohanim. Kohanim. Kohainen? I'm gonna say what I was saying. Okay, thank you. Anyway, hadn't fallen, just the real name would imbue the wine cup with extraordinary powers. What a pity. Klein initially judged that was completely dead because sea god Calvatua had inherited his powers. However, Klein couldn't be too sure because despite it being hundreds or thousands of years later, the Book of Calamity still had equally the driving Leticia Beyonder, whose sequence wasn't too low to lose control. Furthermore, it doesn't seem like it's something sea god Calvatua was capable of. Could the high elf have the ability to split his body Beyonder characteristics? Thank you. Split his Beyonder characteristics. Calvatua only inherited a portion. Must have the remaining Beyonder characteristics in some source of the book. Did he create like Horcruxes? Is that what we're doing now? Calamity's unique quality. Kohanim is dead, but hasn't completely perished. Of course, Calvatua, who swallowed Kohanim's Beyonder characteristics, was just a beast without intelligence. No one knows what happened at the time. Perhaps some of the characters were lost and formed a sealed artifact after Calvatua's defeat. If fell into the hands of the Church of Storms, yes, I'll ask Little Sun via the world at the Tarot Gathering next week. He should know who Kohanim is. Actually, that means we're getting a Tarot Club meeting soon. It fell into the hands of the Church of Storms. Yes, I will ask Little Sun via the world at the Tarot Club next week. He should know who Kohanim is. Actually, there's no need to ask. He'll be offering 2 pages of ancient god legends. Perhaps there might be a detailed description of high elves next time. After thinking it through, Klein stuffed the wine cup into his body. After all, it was made of gold, and even if the high elf Kohanim wasn't dead and had some sort of connection to the wine cup, the gray fog could still block him out. After a thought checked and seeing that there was nothing of note, Klein quickly flew back outside and picked up the black hardwood cane before wiping out any traces of battle. Then he took out a paper figurine. With a casual shake, he threw it into the seawater, causing it to quickly turn soggy before reaching to dust. The earlier parts could interfere with, but I won't have time or opportunity for the rest. Luckily, I am now distinguished as Black Emperor. For the remnants of Calvatua, his flesh no longer has any value and his bones are too heavy. It might affect the ability to wield the sea god scepter. With help of the causitation, Klein stabilized his state and quickly flew towards the white bone staff on the half-collapsed pillar. Again, the sound of illusory pleas filled his ears, either pious crying fanatic or nimbled worshippers filled his vision, and the throbbing and dizziness became more and more intense. Sounds like he's just being a bitch. Kohanim. Kohanim sounds right. I'll say that one. Thank you. Again, the sound of illusory pleas filled his ears, either pious crying, fanatic, or numbled worships. Relying on his rich experience in spirit body, reinforced from using the Blankenberg card and Azek's copper whistle, Klein barely managed to hold on until he finally arrived beside the sea god scepter. He extended his right hand and he grasped the middle section of his white bone scepter. As soon as the two made contact, the scene before Klein's eyes became clear and buzzing sounds beside his ears instantly became real. He saw the bald, wheelchair-bound rebel Khaled collapsed on the ground, struggling to reach his shattered figurine. I don't know how to say. Good thing is we're not reading about him anymore, so it doesn't matter. He saw the bald, wheelchair-bound rebel collapse on the ground, struggling to reach the shattered figurine of Calvatua, chanting its honorific name over and over, his eyes filled with despair. He saw Edmonton with his blue sea serpent tattoo prostrating himself in front of another Calvatua figurine, which was slightly bleeding, constantly knocking its head against the ground, creating a bloody mess. Ew, fix yourself up. In the slums, he saw believers hiding in their homes, weeping and praying nimbly. Klein's black armor couldn't support his body anymore as he quickly collapsed. At the same time, his solidified muscles tightened as he exerted strength with his hands. Amidst the layer of resonating prayers and numerous clear scenes, he suddenly pulled out the short white bone staff that symbolized the sea god's authority. The seawater in ruins surged violently, either churning or transforming into a whirlpool. Klein calmly held into the sea god's scepter with a pinch black crown before immediately vanishing. He directly returned above the grey fog. When a familiar towering place entered its signs, the sound of praying and the hallucinatory scenes from him had disappeared. Sitting on the high black chair belonging to the fool, Klein lifted his hand and examined the sea god's scepter, inlaid with blue gems and stained with some darkness and light dawn. Countless points of light floated on the sea artifact. Each point of light seemed to correspond to the praying believer. This caused the milky white bone of the scepter to glow in the psychedelic and holy streams of light. At this moment, Klein felt the scepter was a true body of the sea god. Is Klein going to become the sea god? I feel like he could use some sea god in him, because like all these fucking pieces of objects seem to have like transforming powers in them, and they keep fucking with Klein. Chapter 550. The negative effects of the sealed artifact. Well, we're about to find out. Really fair. Kohanim? Okay. I don't know if we're gonna... I will say it correct going forward. After gaining some after some wrestling with the sea god scepter, Klein gained a preliminary understanding of its powers. It could create tsunamis, create hurricanes, produce torrential rain, and bring forth lightning. So basically, like, it gives you the power of a god. Like, it gives you all the other powers that that guy had. Wait, where did it go? Kohanim. Okay, I got it. To roam the seabed with almost no restrictions. It was nearly indestructible and could be used to smash an enemy's head in. It allowed the wielders to never get lost without with the extent of the existence of any other powerful factors, it would provide an unimaginable level of balance, drive many sea characters to do one's bidding, respond to prayers from believers, and also allow the wielder to obtain some kind of strength as a sea monster. It was equivalent to making the wielder the ruler of an entire expanse of the sea. To Klein, this was already considered at the level of a deity. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that you guys... I'm so sorry for your guys' ears. I just really need to get that out. You know? Sometimes you just really need to... I just put my hat like really sideways. Sometimes you just really need to get that out. Equivalent to making the wielder ruler of the entire expanse of the sea. To Klein, this was already considered... it was already considered... at the level of a deity. Even on Earth, he could resist the art. Dude, I think I just went blind there for a second. I felt so fucking stupid. Aircraft carrier formation. Although he was a sequence 6 with plenty of pragmatic beyonder powers, making him a genuine powerhouse, a legendary figure in the eyes of ordinary people, he was still weak in essence. He was still close to man rather than God. If the situation was right, a revolver would be able to finish him off. Less than a dog, more than a beast. Thank you. He was still close to the man rather than God. If the situation was right, a revolver would be able to finish him off. Of course, his resurrection and act of climbing out of the coffin who other mattered. For the power of the sea god serpent that had all surpassed the level of man in the folklore and in the hearts of the common man. He possessed the powers of deities and devils. No wonder yonders are called demigods from sequence 4. They truly are more like gods than monsters. Klein silently sighed with emotion, then he made a self-deprecating comment. If I use the sea god scepter under normal circumstances, I can already be a high-ranking deacon of the Nighthawks, becoming one of the 12 people to not 12, becoming one of the 20 odd people with the most power in the churches. If Inzangwell didn't have 0-08 and was at sea... Is all of it happening because Inzangwell wants it to happen? I don't trust anything that's happening now. I'm not gonna lie. I forgot about the book. The quill. I forgot about the quill. Okay. I could immediately seek revenge on him. There might even be a small chance of success. But can I use the sea god serpent? Scepter normally. What if he wants the scepter? What if he wants it and he wanted Klein to get it for him? He's using Klein to get these things to then steal them. Because what if Eamon wants it and he wants... Oh my god. Okay, I might cook here, chat. I might cook. Or I might get cooked. We'll see. So what if Inzangwell is using the quill to get, like, Klein to get all this stuff so that he can he can take it. Klein had already discovered the negative effects of the sea god serpent were staggering. In the Church of Evernight, it could easily obtain the evolution of a grade one sealed artifact, and countless researchers would have to die to figure out the best sealing and usage methods. The sea god serpent had a total of 3 negative effects. First, it made the wielder irritable, making them prone to anger and turning rash as a result. Second, it periodically froze all of the thoughts of biological creatures in a certain range before draining their blood, including the wielders. As for how huge the range was, and what the exact period was, Klein, who wasn't a professional researcher, couldn't give a precise description. He could only give a rough estimate that the range was from 600 meters to 1 kilometer, and the period was 20 minutes to 35 minutes. Third, it would rather be display the prayers of worshippers, both audio and visual. This is very easily caused a non-demigod wielder who is lacking spirit to break down and lose control. The first negative effect is still alright. If I were to only use it for a short period of time, the anger and irration would still be accepted. To put it simply, I'll just end up rashly with such a powerful sealed artifact. For third, there's actually a way to avoid it. The sea god's response to its believers must be a distance limitation. That is to say that beyond the Roysard archipelago and nearby sea regions, there was to be no signal, so no one would be influenced by it. Yes, if it's constantly placed above the Great Fog, I believe this can break the distance limitations in prayers. Voices and scenes would be screened, turning into points of light. It would be affected in any way. I can then choose whether to reply, who to reply to, and how to reply. I think I come up with great theories. I do. I think I come up with theories that, you know what? Cuttlefish is watching these videos right now and he's like, damn, I should have thought of that. You know what? Scrap my plans for this book. I should have done that. It's true. I was with him. And when replying, I can use the powers of the sea god scepter. The biggest problem is the second one. I myself am fine. No, that's what I'm saying. He just, he's punching the air right now. He's like, damn, that's so smart. Why is this white girl from Canada so smart? And like, I should have just done that with this book. I should write a book. You guys would all read it, right? Besides the frequency of quiet, unpredictable, it's impossible for any of us to discuss with the enemy when I encounter danger about changing our time and place. Klein carefully thought about certain scenarios. I should. It wouldn't. It wouldn't. I would write. Pause this book that I'm reading. We're talking about this book that I'm writing now. I would write such a good book. It would have so many twists and turns, and it would have like an acceptable amount of gooning, and you would never see it coming. The plot line in the story, it'd be like, whoa, and it would be a ¡1 bestseller. Maybe a little bit yaoi, who knows? But I think that I would write a pretty good book. But it all depends on the environment and accurate judgment. So it was very feasible. Could its fate be to stay above the Great Fog? When people like Amon attempt to creep up, it'll give them bashing, no, a bolt of lightning. He's thinking about Amon. Yes, there's another usage method. When people like Miss Justice and Mr. Hangman seek my help, I am no longer limited to using paper angels. I can provide rain and produce some winds. Of course, this can be done like a purifying powers of the sun brooch, using the paper angels as a vessel. On some serious thought, I can fully appear like a true demigod above the gray fog with the help of the sea god scepter. He got new material for his show. I'm so proud of him. Klein's mood gradually became better as he discovered that the sea god serpent wasn't completely unusable at the moment. It opened up many more options and adventures for him. He withdrew his attention and once again looked at the white bone scepter with his blue gems embedded at the top. He pondered over another question, and that was whether or not he should respond to the prayers above. Holy shit. Bless you. Excuse me. I don't know what you're supposed to say after that. For the following the sea god, Calvatua was already dead. There's no need to give these people another target of their faith. But even if the living priests and high-ranking members of the resistance noticed the abnormality, no longer receive any response until they would accept the worst outcome for a long period. This is especially the case when they're perilous situation with no hope and can be seen just like that of the city of Silver. After 2,000 years, they're still consecrating the Creator, believing that they have been abandoned and that they would receive response one day. That is to say that the fervent believers of the sea god would not stop their live sacrifices just because they didn't receive a response. Being unconvinced that Calvatua has already perished, instead they will become worse, hoping to gain the favor of their god without years of promotions and setbacks. It will be difficult for them to realize the truth. Without the support of the native deity like Calvatua, the resistance would probably fall entirely into Fazak or Intis camp. At that time, they would most likely be driven to do inhuman things such as attacking places where civilians gather or to make children who still retain their innocence act as meat shields. No, thank you. I need to give them some guidance. What music is playing right now? Oh my god. Yeah, no, I was like, yeah, no, I knew it was Nightmare Grim, and I was just like, okay. Music was cooking for a minute there, and then they went to like some scary place. But you know what? Amon and the Quill were both mentioned, so fair. And then they were talking about using innocent children as meat shields, so like also kind of fair. Yeah, I was like, I need to give them some guidance. I need to tell them what the correct way of practicing their faith is. But I should. Oh no, we don't need to do that, Klein. But I should only help them without burdening myself. I'm not responsible for saving their fates. Klein gently rapped the edge of the long, molten table and suddenly chuckled. Wasn't I supposed to act? Sea God Calvatua is quite a good target. I wonder if there was any feedback with the gray fog interference. I have to give it a try and figure it out. Klein quickly made his decision, feeling strangely refreshed. He deliberated for a moment. First he conjectured. Oh my god. Conjured. Necessary scene. Then he held onto the sea god serpent, spreading out his spirituality before touching one of the points of light. In a hidden cave of the fortress of Blue Mountain Island, the bald rebel Khaled fell from the wheelchair, his eyes filled with despair and confusion as he crawled towards the shattered figurines of Calvatua in front of him. He vaguely sensed something, but he was unwilling to believe it. This means that of his persistence, all of the sacrifices, all of... It wasn't conjecture, it was conjoined. Or whatever word I said. No, he screamed silently as he constantly muttered the honorific name of Sea God Calvatua in an attempt to get a response from the deity. With his elbows on the ground, his fingers reached into the soil as he moved towards the front of the shattered figurine. 1 inch at a time, he picked up the head of the sea serpent that was carved out of stone, and he found that its eyes had collapsed inward. and becoming a strange black hole, and its fangs were falling off one after another. Okay. Khaled seemed to freeze in light, and its eyes seemingly vanished. It was in this moment that he suddenly saw a blurry figure. Behind the figure was a dark blue tsunami, surging into the sky in streaks of silver lightning that branched into the sea. Amidst his shock, Khaled instinctively lowered his head, an unimaginable sense of joy surging inside him. He saw that the figure's feet were surrounded by waves, and there was a hurricane swirling around him. The figure was majestic and holy, high and almighty. Then he heard the calm and magnificent voice, "I have returned." As his voice echoed in the air, Khaled teared up for some inexplicable reason. 10 minutes after Klein left the bottom of the sea ruin, which was half merged in the spirit world, the seawater that filled this place suddenly churned and flowed backwards. In just 20 to 30 seconds, the inside of the elven ruin was so dry that it resembled dry land. The fresh hurricane blew in, bringing in breathable gas. One figure after another descended from the hurricane, and leading them with a tall and brawny middle-aged man. He appeared to be in his 40s, with his face with firm and deep lines, and accentuated muscles filled the loose storm priest robe. He was none other than the Church of Storms Cardinal Bishop of the Roasted Sea, high-ranking deacon of the Mandated Punishers. Dude, just in the nick of time. Just in the nick of time. Sea King Yacht Cotman. He had a pair of dark blue eyes, and his hair was the same color as twice the thick and normal person. There was like small worms or tentacles. Behind young Cotman were a number of mandated punishers and military personnel. They examined their surroundings, explicitly and cautiously, not letting their guard down because of the God's protection up ahead. At this moment, they heard a snort. They were immediately swept up by a hurricane, arriving at the doorway at the front of the swell swoop. They saw a huge serpent reduced to spludge of flesh and blood, with its bones exposed. Other than that, there was nothing else. "Who is it?" Jan Kottman expressed his anger and growled. As he shouted these words, the sea waves crashed down from above. The sea was reverberated into half-collapsed hall, quickly claiming the form of windless lake. The surface of the lake resurfaced from the scene before. An indiscernible figure pulled up with a short staff inlaid with blue gems, causing the sea to churn and the ruins to shake. Jan Kottman took a deep breath and turned his back to the crowd. Find him. At that moment, Klein had selected a dozen or so believers to respond to, each of whom was relatively important, mainly by giving out a new convenient. "I have returned. When the past is pardoned, I will redeem you. First commandment, thou shalt not sacrifice unto me living human sacrifices." You know what? Fair enough, Klein. Do it up, man. Okay, Klein is really taking this whole God thing a little far. Would I say that I would be one of his disciples? Absolutely. But no, literally, he was just like, you know what? Cause they don't have God there. They don't got my boy JC in this world. So, to be honest, I would also probably be like, hey, that's my shit right there. And then I'd throw down the Bible and be like, thou shalt not put themselves above me. No fucking way. His second commandment is thou shalt not use my name in vain. Third commandment, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Bro, he literally plagiarized the Bible. Fourth commandment, honor thy father, thy mother, and thy children as you love me. Fifth commandment, thou shalt not commit adultery. Sixth commandment, thou shalt not kill the innocent. Seventh commandment, thou shalt not bear false witness, fame, or violate contracts. No way, Klein. Eighth commandment, serve me with your heart, not with your offerings. Ninth commandment, those who have committed lesser wrongdoings first atone for your sins before seeking forgiveness. 10th commandment, honor my name by helping your compatriots and companions. Klein is Jesus Christ. And that's just the facts of it. Klein is God. And that's okay. And that's just what it is. No, literally, he went copy, paste. And then he said, this is my shit. Read it and weep, bitch. That's why didn't Roselle fucking copy and paste the Bible? Oh, dude, missed opportunity. If I was, like, and that's the thing is, like, that's crazy that he fully just copied and pasted the 10 Commandments, but at the same time, I would too. They're, honestly, the 10 Commandments are kind of a bar. What can I say? Like, someone's gonna come up to you and they're gonna be, thou shalt not use my name in vain. Thou shalt not have no other gods before me. Absolutely. That's kind of a bar. Why do you think it lasted so long? Pop off, Klein. One commandment after another echoed in the ears of the bald rebel. Khaled causing, no way, and he's gonna write this shit. He's gonna write this shit on scripture. And this is his, who was it? Was it Moses that went up? This is his Moses. Stop. This is crazy. Cuttlefish. That's so fucking good. He held his hand close to the ground, uncontrollably trembling slightly with reverence. Yo, pull out a pen and paper, babe. Write down that scripture. Tell the people. Tell the people. As a mid-sequence beyonder. Oh my god, and they're basically slaves. Dude, I'm sorry. Is volume 3 just the Prince of Egypt? I'm not even kidding. Is volume 3 just like kind of like a loosely retelling of the Prince of Egypt? This is crazy. As a mid-sequence. They're parting the ocean! Oh my god, dude. It's literally just the Prince of Egypt. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. What's the song? Is it Thus Save the Lord? The absolute just banger. You know what? Actually, every single song from that movie is just so good. Banger, I hardly know her. We're gonna listen to that during the final battle. Absolutely. As a mid-sequence beyonder, the rebel who had, where was I? Causing him to completely, he held his head close to the ground, uncontrollably trembling slightly with reverence, fear, and excitement. As a mid-sequence beyonder, the rebel who had once been educated in the Fasek Empire, he had sufficient insight to understand. Harsh. Not in front of God, okay? Not in front of our Lord and Savior, Klein Moretti. That worship of the sea god was based more on fear. Fear of the power. Fear. That's so crazy. Fear of powerful forces, fear of the fearsome natural risks and mankind faced with many rituals. They retained primitive bloodshed and backwards faith that revealed an inhumane and uncivilized practices, something that would be eliminated sooner or later. However, the faith he had developed since he was young had made him afraid to go against divine revelation. Oh, I wonder what faith he had developed since he was young. Oh, this is that guy, not Klein. I was about to be like, yeah. He could only bear the idea of modifying the ritual process deep in his heart to avoid the parts which conflicted with his own wishes as much as possible. Now the sea god's sudden change left him extremely delighted. It was as if he could see the so-called primitive totem that outsiders claimed to be evolving into a true god. He's gonna whip out some fucking rosary beads. Blessed are we, blessed are the rebels, blessed are the true believers. In his blurred vision, Callant raised his head, spread his hands sincerely, and placed them against his mouth. I will abide by your teachings as if I am praising your name. The blurry figure in front of him disappeared, the magnificent voice by his ears vanished, and the scene in the cave returned to its original state. However, Khaled knew that everything was no longer the same. He just met God. He moved his elbows several times and quickly crawled back to the wheelchair. Once again, oh yeah, dude. I'd be like, if I was this guy, I'd be like, hey, so because I'm your most devout follower, could you like fix this whole leg thing for me? Since you're the all-knowing creator that you now claim to be by using the Bible, and the 10 Commandments. He moved his elbows several times and quickly crawled back to his wheelchair. Once again, he sat on and turned his eye. Oh my god, I just realized something. Is Klein, okay, I have a question. Is Klein, are we not gonna fill out all 22 of the chairs for the Tarot Club and we only fill out 12 and then Klein has 12 disciples and then we gotta figure out which one Judas is? Not gonna lie, my money's on Derek, because it's always the least, you know, the one you don't suspect. And I'm like, Eamon is Judas. I think Eamon got to Derek, and then crazy. Hey, I'm not slandering Little Son. I'm not. Hey, I'm not. You know how the Lady Gaga song goes? Ooh ah, ooh ah, ah. That one, you know, is the one that I cling to. But, you know, it's the one you least expect. It's always the one you least expect that's gonna do it. And then, before you know it, Derek's running away. That's what I'm saying. Or, no, don't ban me. Don't ban me. Don't ban me. It won't be Little Son. Okay, fine. It's not Little Son. But it's gotta be one of them. One of them's gonna betray him. Hey, look, if we're gonna copy, you know, we might as well follow through now, babe, okay? We might as well follow through. So one of them's gonna betray him. And who knows who it's gonna be. I don't think it'd be Alger. He's like way too far up there. And then, and then I don't think it'd be Audrey because I just don't. And then I feel like Fours just wouldn't care enough to do anything like that. And then I think, you know, Emlin's got his own thing. I don't really think he would do it either. Obviously the world. Big brain time. It's not Derek, it's the world that betrays Klein. Because the world was the closest one to him. Because it was actually just an extension of him. And then someone takes over the world and betrays him. Yep. That's what it is. That's what it is. Well, you know what? As one says, Klein is God and we are all one with God. So, to be honest, if somebody's betraying God, God's really betraying himself. Same goes for Klein. What can I say? The first ever doomed Yowie. God versus himself. Anyway. He moved his elbow several times and quickly crawled back to his wheelchair. He was he once again sat on it. He once again sat on it and turned to the other side of the cave. Callet quickly met with Edmonton. Oh, he's about to spread the gospel! This member of the resistance with the blue sea serpent tattoo was standing in front of him, and the deity figured... Dude, you know how, like, people get, like, tattoos of crosses? People are gonna start getting the tattoos of, like, serpents, and that's gonna be their, like, cross symbol, you know? Tattoo was standing in front of the deity figurine and was bleeding abnormally. His forehead was a mixture of scarlet, red, and black, dirty and gruesome. However, Edmonton's expression was joyful, excited, and satisfied. He looked at Callet and blurted out, "Did you receive the revelation?" No fucking way! I can't. Okay, I'm so sorry. This is about to be my favorite volume ever. This is literally about to be the... Honestly... This is about to be peak writing right up there with the Bible. It's going to be like the Bible and then volume 3 of Lord of the Mysteries. They're neck and neck for just like evolutionary pieces of writing. This is amazing. This is so good. Yes, it's the aura of God, just like before. Callet nodded in excitement. Not only has God reappeared over the land, but he has also rebuilt his covenant. Stop. Edmonton let out a sigh of relief. How? Okay, if I was Klein, I would have, like, here's the thing. I would have to be in spirit, like, mode and watch this shit. I would be eating that up. Fuck, you are singing my praises and up so far up my fucking ass. We might as well kiss through it. Like, that's crazy. I'm even suspecting that I was hallucinating before. It seems like as long as an outsider touches the holy sword, God will be able to walk the land again. There's no need for it to be completely lifted. Callet chimed, "Indeed, the reason why the deity figurines shattered and bled is because God has changed his image. We must build a new one, just like the scenes we saw earlier." God also showed his sacred emblem. Above the symbol of the waves, there was a serpent in the shape of a lightning surrounded by strong winds. Edmonton said as he recalled. Callet immediately patted the armrest of the wheelchair. "Let's find the high priest right now. We should have also received this revelation. I promise you the high priest did not receive any revelation." Maybe you'll become the new high priest. Oh my god. This is exactly how it happened in the Bible. No! No, Lord of Mysteries Moses, don't go! They're gonna do things to you and take away your family. We will usher in a new world. I promise you won't. After the gray fog, Klein put down the sea serpent scepter and rubbed his temples in exhaustion. Klein, how are you not howling with laughter right now? He had noticed the problems earlier. The sea god scepter couldn't respond in ritualistic magic, which meant that it could provide the certain amount of strength to help the worshippers complete the ritual and achieve their goals. However, it could only be... Is Klein now gonna have to... No, send the... Klein, send the burning bush. What would be the equivalent? Because, like, here's the thing. God did a burning bush. I feel like Klein needs, like, something watery, serpenty related. Oh, you know what he could do? He could have, like, lightning shoot down into a bush, and then it catches on fire. So we're filling in with kind of the whole lightning thing. Oh, wait, that is exactly how that happened in the Bible, is it not? I don't know. Maybe I'm plagiarizing. His work, but... We'll see. We already have someone on a cross. Is the fallen God supposed to symbolize Jesus Christ? Is the fallen creator Klein's son? Oh my god. For example, the ever... help the worshippers complete the ritual and achieve their goal. Is Klein also now gonna have to pretend to be this god? Please, let us now all bend our knees and pray in our name, the true creator, the Lord of, what is it? Fuck, what's his honorific name? Let's all bow and bow our heads and praise the Lord, the true creator, and his God, the king of black and yellow. Black and yellow? Is it black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow? The Lord that created everything, the one above all. Please, chat. Let us pray. No, obviously that one was a joke. It's not his son. It's not. But I did theorize, like, literally everything else that I have said is, like, I'm genuinely expecting that to happen now. Whatever could be done was relatively limited. For example, the Evernight goddess could use the method of influencing fate to let her believers naturally obtain the money they needed to pay their debts. See, that's the other reason why you gotta go with the Evernight goddess, is because, you know, she helps you pay those bills, baby. I'd be praying to her. I'd get on my knees for the Evernight goddess. As for the sea god scepter, it could at most produce fake money on the altar, and after a while it would become ineffective and return to its true form. This is the difference between a false god and a true god. This is different between a false god and a true god. Apart from the gray fog, as long as it fulfills the produce and prayers, the sea god scepter is capable of automatically responding to ritualistic magic. Yeah, it is. It will... I don't think the honorific name is a spoiler. Like the fool's honorific name, I just forget it. But if it's somebody else's honorific name, it might be a spoiler, because I don't remember any of them, and I don't know if I'm supposed to remember them. Will use up more than half of its power in one go. This might be why the steps to the ritualistic magic are extremely important. Above the gray fog, prayers will be screened, reduced to the point of light. The sea god scepter is unable to automatically respond, hence requiring me to manually handle them. Oh, the work. He's supposed to be a god. He should send, what were the archangels? You know, like Michael and Jonathan? No. I want a John, you know? Was it like... Is it... Joseph? Raphael. Is it Gabriel? We just got like 4 different names. Joseph, Raphael, or Gabriel. Because there's Michael. Is it Gabriel? I don't know, John. I don't know, there's a John in the Bible. And John just, you know, it always seems to be like a religious name. So I wasn't sure if it was like one of the... Because God had like 3 archangels or something like that. Yeah, he had Raphael, Gabriel, and then... I'm pretty sure Lucifer was an archangel. No, I don't... Dude, there's so many. Interesting. The only criteria is that I'm in a good mood. Hey, I didn't bring religion into this. That wasn't me. Cuttlefish did that when he decided to plagiarize the Bible. Literally decided to plagiarize the 10 Commandments. You're mixing stuff up with supernatural. That's crazy. That's crazy. They will be able to receive a response. The only criteria is that I'm in a good mood. I'll think of a solution when I'm free. I'll make it so that even if the sea god scepter is above the gray fog, it will be an automated answering machine. Produce a paper angel, and that's useless as it doesn't have any soul injected into it. Make a mechanism and rigged puppet to handle the repeated and trivial ritualistic magic. I wonder if Marionettis has the power related to this. At the very least, Rosago only showed traits of controlling. What the fuck? Oh my god. As Klein's thought slowly settled in his eyes, moved to the iron cigar case. After some research, he discovered that the cigarette case that he severely corroded exterior had undergone some abnormal changes. It was firmer, tougher, and more resistant to corrosion. However, still within the comprehensible and acceptable range of normal humans. It isn't equivalent to any special properties. However, if it were placed here a few years, decades, or even longer, where it holds beyond a characteristic mystical couldn't really say that mystical items, perhaps it could even evolve into a sealing case. We've been on this chapter, I shit you not, for like 30 minutes. I feel like it's been like 20-30 minutes that we've been on this chapter, I think. The corner of Klein's mouth twitched, and he turned his head to look at the junk pile in the corner. They were covered with gray fog, almost blending in with the surroundings. Klein laughed dryly and looked away. He fiddled with his crushed golden white cups again, and affirming there was nothing wrong with it. After doing all this, he entered the real world and summoned himself once more to bring the sun brooch and other items back to his room in the inn. In the very moment the clouds in the sky had disappeared and the moon was scattering its crimson quality and entered the city of Generosity Bay and reigned asleep in his dreams. 9 a.m. Cathedral of Waves. Whew. Gotta get up for Sunday church. Alger was summoned by the use of excuse in the confession. He once again met the diocese bishop, Chogo. Look for this person. Chogo handed over the portrait in his hand. Another mission. What's going on recently? Alger muttered in his hand and unfolded the piece of paper. When he saw the content of the portrait, he almost couldn't control his laughter. It was impossible to tell if the figure in the portrait was male or female, or what they looked like. How was he supposed to find them? In a split second, he thought of something and didn't try to hide it. He changed his mood instantly. He deliberately blurted out, "Who is this?" The portrait depicted an unusually blurry and mysterious person with no characteristics that could be used to aid in search. There was no such mission yesterday. A suddenly demand to pursue this person in the morning. What happened last night? Calvatua perished completely. With that happening, the church and the military would definitely search for its remnants. Simim Island is the clue. This person took away the most important item ahead of them. Who is this person? Alger's heart skipped a beat, and he almost didn't dare meet Chogo's eyes. Chogo nodded. A dirty, despicable thief. He may be from Intis or Fasak, or he may belong to the Church of the Eternal Blazing Sun, or Church of the God of Combat. Someone from Intis or Fasak, or someone from the Church of the Eternal Blazing Sun, or Church of the God of Combat. Why would they be in such a guess to conclusion? His Eminence Jan Kotman only received little information at the scene and was unable to pinpoint the target. In this case, it's indeed possible to presume that the person is from either Intis or Fasak, as the main supporter of the Renaissance of Calvatua are from those countries. There is reason to believe that they may already know where Calvatua was hiding. It fits my theories from before. Of course, it could also be something else. Alger controlled his emotions and asked, "What did he do?" "You don't need to know. Just pay attention for any abnormalities from people from Intis or Fasak and Bam. Yes, also includes the locals who have become beyonders. Also find the people who previously posted the notice on the front door of the cathedral. They might know something, and they could quickly give you further information," George ordered in a deep voice. "This is indeed a direction. This is a tantamonious in telling me that the person has something to do with the notice on the pursing of Calvatua. I wonder whose hands Calvatua's beyond characteristic landed in. Who? Right, the world, and bam, something happened in Calvatua not long after he came here. Could this be Mr. Fool's purpose? Would he help him with the process of removing the seal and regaining his strength?" Alger's pupil was contracted as he recalled his conjecture from a while ago. When he woke up, Klein, who was reaped a bountiful harvest last night, was uplifted in a good mood. He decided to treat himself today and make sure his 3 meals would be simplest and delicious. As he pushed open the door and walked into the living room, he saw Donitz was out of bed, untying the bandage and splint around his arm. He recovered that quickly. Klein was stunned for a moment. Seeing Garam and Sparrow look over, Donitz chuckled and said, "My ability to recover isn't too bad. My sequence 9 is called Hunter. He's going to join the Tarot Club. I received a clear improvement in various aspects of my body, allowing me to surpass ordinary humans. When it comes to combat, I experience a great enhancement. Beside, I'm already a sequence 7. Sequence 9 Hunter. I've killed one, and I know the corresponding sequence 6 name is Conspirer." Klein suddenly recalled the first enemy he encountered back when back when he first arrived in Backland, it was stuck to him like a mealstorm. Then he was almost unable to eradicate himself from. Sequence 8 Provoker. Klein asked in passing. He had long since guessed Donnett's Beyonder pathway. From his adeptness at using fire, it was the Red Priest pathway, which Roselle had called a true man. Sequence 7 was the Pyromaniac, also known as ancient times as Fire Mage. Donitz froze for a second, thinking of Garamond Sparrow and doubting him. He subconsciously raised his voice. Do you think I'm not good at provoking? No, I'm an expert in this field. Chapter 5, 52, Palm. Okay, I'm gonna stop here. What the fuck happened in chat while I was locked in? Anyway, I'm gonna stop here. Thanks so much for coming. I had so much fun. Yes. Don't worry, I will look at the images after. Oh, yeah, okay. I will look at them. I will read OVR. I'm probably going to read it after I'm done this, though. Because isn't it also, like, a really long book? So. Honestly, I don't even do much this stream. I just got really excited when Klein decided to plagiarize the 10 Commandments in the Bible and say that he's God. You guys did that today. Don't know what you did, but there was a lot. Okay, 500 chapters isn't that bad. So we will pick it back up to, yeah. What did I say? If you time short, you'll be done already. No, literally. We're gonna pick it back up tomorrow. And we'll read another couple chapters, and we'll go from there. And we'll finish that up then. Yay! Anyway, thanks so much for coming, guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Yeah, okay. Bye-bye.